welcome to the top of the world. You remember I mentioned that thing I've been working on? Well, it's not that, because obviously this is my Land Cruiser. But it starts with this. So I've done some work in order to get this thing. I've got to go and I've got to go and get it. And the problem I've got is I've got a trailer, and the trailer's big enough, and it's rated heavy enough. Just about. But I've got to get the trailer to the place. So the deal is, if I can get this out, I can have it. And then, when I get it running, I can do what I've got to do to pay the man. You see, but I can't pay him. But we've worked out a deal. So, here's the thing. This here is just a hook and pin ball. I've always had a military pin tool on the back of this because all my trailers were military. A few years ago. Now they're not. Now I've got none of those trailers. So I still need the ball, and I need the ring for some of the agricultural trailers here. The trouble I've got is for a standard trailer, I'm a foot too high. I know it don't look like it, but I'm also parked off the concrete there. I'm a foot too high. I've got to drop the top of this ball by 10 inches in order to fit the trailer that I need to tow. And I've always wanted to upgrade the back of the Land Cruiser because the front is heavily modified. But the back is pretty standard. And there's a big bulge. I'll show you this in a minute. I'll bring you in here. Anyway, I'm up against time. I'm running out of time. The snow's going to be on the ground in a minute and I've got so much to do. So I'm having a fight with myself. The light's all wrong this way around, so you can see that that's already quite deformed. Not because it's weak at the back, but because it's very powerful, and some of the things I pulled are very big and very heavy. Anyway, this has got to go down a long way. Now the trouble is, of course, my ground clearance, right? But I don't do with this what I used to do. But I still need some ground clearance. Anyway, how am I going to do that? Well, I've got a big chunk of steel there. And I've got some really heavy angle there. Really heavy angle. So I'm going to be adding, I don't know, 40 pounds of steel to the back of this. Well, that's what it is, don't matter. I've got to allow for a bit of spring in the back suspension, although to be honest, you know, it don't go down much. Anyway, so the idea is to take that what's on there off. And then to have something coming down here with several sets of holes so I can adjust it up and down. However, if I start welding to this back beam, which is what my intention are, then it's there. And it ain't coming off. Well, at least Way's not in a hurry. And I don't want to devalue the old girl. And I'll tell you why I don't want to devalue the old girl. Is because not only have I owned it for its life, it's only just done over 100,000 miles. Yeah. She's a 1995 and she's only just turned 100,000 miles. And she's been serviced every 3,000 miles all of her life. Yeah, I know. So that makes this, other than those that are in the museum, one of the rarest 80 series Land Cruisers on the planet. Now, I admit she's been slightly neglected the last few years because I've got no money and she's got to go in the forest and work. But prior to that, it was built and maintained regardless of cost. So, I've got to do it, so I might as well do it. Well, I never actually knew. You know, I said I'd pulled some big things with this. Well, I have. And this is quite a heavy duty steel girder going across the back of that. Look at that. Now that's not with that table, that was with the original 4-bolt pin tool. Now if you don't know what a 4-bolt pin tool is, it's a big claw that locks onto trailers and swivels. It's mainly used in military applications. Anyway, I've got to do something about that. I wish I didn't have to do this. Yeah, I think I've got that a bit flatter than it was. Now I want to retain, well, in an ideal world I'd like to retain both of those, but those that don't know, that's what used to be bolted onto the back. The drawer opens up and the ring goes in there and then it locks back down, and that also swivels. So I've got to maintain these 4 holes. Right, so this is the basics. I've drilled pairs of holes in that, and I've also drilled 4 holes in that, and that'll come clearer as we go on, because I need to bolt all the way through the double chassis member. So no, don't do that, Simon. Ooh. I nearly forgot what I was doing. Right. Do you know what would make this perfect? Is if I could gusset this somehow to the back. This is what I'm concerned about. I know your log story. So here's one. Or somewhere in my teens. And I was in Folkestone in Kent, in southern England. And I needed, it was some people I knew that had a scrapyard. And I needed this axle off of a car. And the scrapyard was set up like there was some buildings where they did welding jobs and, you know, basic repairs on cars. And then there was a big row down one side of cars that could possibly be repaired and sold. And then you had the main scrapyard, and then you had the non-ferrous metal yard. And I'm in the main scrapyard and I need to get this axle off, and the guy lifted it up with the big claw on the crane, and I'm underneath cutting this axle off, and I've cut through the fuel line because I'm using a cutting torch. Was I very experienced on a cutting torch then? No, not really. Anyway, so this has gone up in flames, and the petrol's pouring out the petrol tank, and the fire's getting bigger and bigger, and I've pulled all the hoses out the way and wrapped them all up, and in the workshop was another kid my age. In his panic, he's pulling out the fire hose as fast as he can. Well, in his panic, he's looped it round somehow the top of an acetylene bottle. And he's got outside and it won't, and he's give this hose a good old tug. Well, that set the acetylene bottle off. Don't ask me why about coincidences, but the valve top was just at the right distance to one of the welding benches, and over it went and snapped the top completely off. Well, I heard a clank, and then I heard the biggest whoosh I've ever heard, and then a massive, massive impact on the other side of the yard, and this noise is still going. And I've got a raging fire on my hand. The crane driver has swung over, put this on the ground. That's made it even worse because now we can't get underneath it. This car is well and truly like huge fire, big impact over there, everybody running around. Then to top it all, the owner he was a big fat bald man. He was. And he's come down the stairs of his little porter cabin and he's fallen. Well, scrapyards in them days were not clean places, and he's covered from the front of his face to his toes in this mud, oil, petrol substance that covered the entire yard, and the fire is raging, and this noise is still going on over in the corner of the yard where this huge impact is. This kid, I mean, he's legged it, so the fire hose is still like, anyway. After all this confusion, it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, and the fire brigade turned up. They put the car out, and this noise has finished over in the corner of the yard. And it was kind of next to the back entrance where the gates were. Anyway, after all the confusion, and Barry, the owner, that was covered from head to foot in all this, I mean, he's long since dead now. He's gone back inside and he's cleaned himself up, and he's walked sort of behind and in the back door of the workshops and walked through, and he's trying to explain to the fire brigade, and they're packing up and they're clearing out. Anyway, he's got to go home. He's got to go home to get changed, doesn't he? Just inside the gate there was like a secure area where he used to park his Granada. He had a Ford Granada, the old gear type, like from the suite. Anyway, it was a beautiful car. We hear this commotion and he is pissed. He is spitting fire. He is absolutely apoplectic, jumping up and down. So we've made our way over there quite quickly. Well, this acetylene bottle launched out the workshop and across the yard, and just prior to getting to a direct hit in front of his car, it must have hit something and launched slightly up. This acetylene bottle's gone through the front of his car. It has smashed his engine block and taken what is left of the back through the bulkhead of the car, through the car, and the bottle and what is left of the car is all now through the back seat and lodged halfway out the back. This car is totaled. I have never seen anything like it, with a torpedo in the middle, which was an acetylene bottle. I don't know what force those acetylene bottles go when they're full. That was my first experience. My first experience of oxyacetylene underneath a car whilst it's full of petrol, right? Bad idea. My first experience of ever seeing some kind of compressed gas bottle fall over, have the valve broken off, and the speed and the destruction it caused, and we never saw that young kid again. Anyway, that said, you're supposed to disconnect the batteries when you're welding on a vehicle, and preferably not near to the diesel tank. I've got some experience with fires. We're not going to disconnect the battery or worry about the diesel tank. We are going to weld this hitch on though.
Haha! Yes!
So this has never been able to tow this. It's never towed this. It's never towed an ordinary trailer because it's too high. But we can see now we've got both axles firmly on the ground, and you can see the top two holes of this rear plate. That's where the tow ball normally is. And it's down there now. I'm not convinced we can get this where we need to, but we've got no choice because that's what we've got. That could do it. We just might have to... And it's not abusing that to where we're going while it's empty. It's getting it out when it's loaded. I've got those. I've got all my chains, shackles, blocks and tackles, winches. I've got my obviously big winch, and I've put my high lift jack, farm jack, whatever you want to call it, up on top. Got the chainsaw. 3 winches, 2 jacks. Yeah, I think I'm getting there. Tripod. Right. Now I think what we need is a few hand tools. Haven't got the hammers on yet. A few hand tools, and then coffee. That's what we need. Where's the hund? Have you got the coffee? Yeah. I'm so excited. Adventures like this I used to make up many times, as often as I could. So it's the first proper adventure where it's a challenge for me and all my skills to go do this. So I'm going to give you a clue. It's big, it's heavy, it's specifically designed and manufactured to be located in extremely high and extremely cold locations. This particular item doesn't have any wheels. It could be lifted if you could get a crane. I don't have a crane. I have a Land Cruiser and a trailer, and 3 winches and some strops and straps and chains and jacks. I've got to go to a very remote, very nailed it, location. Somehow get this thing from where it is onto there. Now I know it hasn't been used in 15 plus years. I also know it's pre-1980. It's got no wheels, it's got no tracks, and it's something more useful than I could possibly explain right now, and I'm not going to. We're going off to collect this.